So let's try and get this repository implemented. Now we're actually going to start out by not implementing it, but making the contract for it. Whenever you do software development, start out with the contract, start out with the interface, sit down as a team and have a chat about how can we make the interface, how does that work. So what we're going to do is we're going to implement the ICustomerRepostiory this lesson. And we're going to use a lot of the things that we actually already have available inside the iCustomer service here, except for the update. And I just want to talk about that before we actually make the implementation, because how can we not have the update inside the actual repository? If we cannot update inside the database, what's the value of this? We need to save changes to the database. And that's where unit of work comes in. So let me try to give you guys a brief overview again from my beautiful drawing. Think of the repository pattern again as a type of memory spot, right? So we are going to grab data down here and we're going to store that data inside memory on the machine just as a small list here, right? So here we now have maybe all customers available on this in this local list that's inside the repository. Okay? Now since it's already in memory, we can manipulate all of this data. We don't need to talk to the database anymore. We can manipulate the data directly right here. Now when the data is changed to whatever I want it to be, so here we've changed it, maybe we've moved one, whatever we've done, we can actually go now and save changes back to the database. So save changes like this. So now we are sending the data back to the database. This is not the repository's job to actually save the changes. Not in our setup. We are going to use a unit of work to actually save the changes. So right now just accept that when I make the repository there is no update function. We can get data, we can delete data, and we can create data, but we cannot update data directly, okay, using the repository. Let's make the iRepository now, because that was enough explanation for that. It makes more sense when it's actually there. Again, the repository is an in-memory collection set of the actual database. So I right-click my customer app data access layer, I say add, I say new item, I say interface, I call it iCustomerRepostiory, iCustomerRepostiory. And yes, we could start making this generic, but no, I will not do it yet. We will do it later because it is not required to make these generic. It might make sense because you want to reuse a lot of stuff. It might also not make sense because people end up making everything generic and it makes the code crazy to read. But let's start out just making a normal interface right here that's non-generic. Remember, when you make interface, they need to be public. I often forget that, or else I cannot reach them from other packages. And then I'm just going to go and grab the iCustomer service here, grab all the functions from there and paste them into my interface. But again, the update will not be there. So I just added here no update for the repository because it will actually be a task for the unit of work. What I want you guys to do is, of course, also we need to import the customer app entity because we want to use these customers right here. And that's actually all we have to do for the interface. Now, of course, we have to figure out how to implement this and later on how to use this. But let's just stop this for now. Now we have a customer repository ready to actually use, where we can create a customer, we can get all customers, we can delete a customer. So that's a good beginning at least. Next, let's work more with actually getting this up and running.